SEO is just evolving. The thing that's evolving is the search piece of it. And as a result of that, the optimization is evolving. There's like a new acronym every 24 hours or so.
Why are many e-commerce brands becoming invisible right now?
Yeah, so one big thing that's happening is that
Hello, welcome to another episode of the e-commerce Coffee Break podcast. A lot is changing right now in online search. Google is moving beyond simple keyword search and becoming more conversational. Shoppers are now using tools like Google AI Overview and ChatGPT to discover products, compare options, and make business decisions in natural language. But while search behavior is changing fast, many e-commerce brands are still relying on outdated product catalogs, static product pages that AI systems struggle to understand. So today we're tackling a big question. How do e-commerce brands stay visible in the age of conversational e-commerce? To break this down, I'm joined by Lucas Tieleman. He is the co-founder of Optiversal, helping e-commerce brands improve visibility across Google, AI search and shopping platforms through better product data. Before launching Optiversal, Lucas was Chief Product Officer at Bazaar Voice and has years of experience building and scaling commerce technology businesses. So let's get started. Lucas, great to have you on the show.
Great to be here, Klaus.
Let's dive into it. Google search is changing fast. Why are many e-commerce brands becoming invisible right now?
Yeah, so one big thing that's happening is that people are starting to trust search engines more and more because of the proliferation of AI tools. And so consumers are sort of getting used to not asking a computer dumb questions anymore. So they're using more and more words to describe what they are looking for. And the engines are getting really good at answering those questions, but they're better at answering those questions if they have all sorts of data, right? And so what we see is there's sort of a gap between how consumers are searching for products and how e-commerce brands talk about products. And so natural language attributes, use case-based searching is all sort of new, upcoming, and there's a gap.
Mm-hmm. Now, we talk about conversational commerce, and so some of our listeners might not know what that is. Can you give an overview what conversational commerce is in simple words?
Let's say I'm going on a camping trip, right, with my kids here. It's almost summer here, or it is. It's pretty warm here in Austin, Texas. So we only have a few days left to go camping before it gets too hot. So let's say I'm going on a camping trip and I need to buy a bunch of camping gear. In the past, I might have searched for tent or maybe, tent for sleeping with two kids. But now, with all these AI tools that are available, I can actually extend that query and make it, all sorts more relevant. So I can say, I'm going on a camping trip in the hill country in Texas with my two daughters who are 7 and 5. And I'm going this weekend where there's going to be some bugs. And it's going to be pretty warm. What's a tent that has, good mosquito nets and great airflow? And so that, query is so much different than I'm looking for a tent, and so the way that consumers, and then the AI system is going to respond with a bunch of things. And then I'm going to look at them and say well, actually, this looks like a good option. And I don't really want to do and talk about or think about this, or it's going to ask me about price range. And so now I'm having a conversation with the search engine versus me just hitting a keyword, looking at 10 links, trying to figure it out, going back and forth, and then landing on a purchase decision.
Mm-hmm. It was a great overview of how complex things has become. And in the past, you were searching for a blue tent and you were optimizing for keywords. And that was, in a nutshell, SEO. But that has changed. Now, when it comes to the product data, obviously you can't put all this information that you're searching for into the product data. What need brands to do to be still visible in search?
Well, there's a few places where you can give a lot of context and give a lot of data, right? So typically what we look at is there's your product feeds that you send to advertising platforms. So every e-commerce brand has a product feed and they'll send them to e-commerce platforms. And on average, you can fill out about 65 to 70 attributes in that feed per product, right? So that's actually a decent amount of data. What we see is that people fill out about 10 to 15. So that's like first very big gap. And then what we also see is that people really focus on factual data. So is the t-shirt black? But the subjective data that, that's grounded in natural search oftentimes get missed. So is this a comfortable t-shirt? That can you wear, is it sweat resistant? Who knows, right? There's all of these things that are, more natural language based that you can put into your data feed. There's space for it, and most of brands are not optimizing for it. So that's number one. In your advertising feeds, you can add a bunch of data. Then secondarily, you can add data to your site, right? So you can describe your product in a different way. You can add editorial content to your site. You can generate buying guides. You can generate landing pages, all of which that can all interlink to different products, all of which helps a search engine gain context on, what is the use case of this product? How would you search for this product, etc.
Mm-hmm. Now, how does AI understand actually if it's a use case or if it's a product vibe or is it just a blog post about something? How does it really pick the data that it needs to serve the one who's searching?
Who knows? It's probabilistic models, right? So like search historically has been very deterministic, right? It's like vector based. You look for certain attributes and then you present results. Whereas large language model search is more probabilistic. And so, it's trying to find what you are looking for. And if you use more complicated words, the result is going to be different. So you are probably also going to get very different results than I am, even if we would write the exact same sentence, because it has context on you and has context on me. And so, but what we know is important is that there's high quality structured data that is valuable for consumers and gives context about the product. And so those are sort of the most important things to make sure that your product content and your site sort of gets a check mark on.
Mm-hmm. Now, if I'm a brand and I have my product catalog and my data is not as structured, obviously you're helping with getting this right. What's the process to work your way through that at the end of the day, you will be searchable in Google, in AI?
Yes. So we typically start off with an audit where we look at your product data and determine, how good or bad it is, where is it very complete, where does it lack completeness, where is it unclear, where does it, have clarity. So we start with an audit to identify the gaps. And then we try to get the gaps as complete as possible, right? You can very hardly get to 100% because there's always things, you can't really figure out for all products, but you can get very close. And so sort of the mark that we hit for is 85, 90% of data completeness. So that's on the completeness side. And then there's on the helpfulness or clarity side. So the way you write the description, we might want to, rewrite the description, etc. And then you can use that data and you can either use it on your website or you can use it in your advertising feeds. And what you see is better performance, which is, nice. You get more people to your site and they convert higher because they had more context.
Mm-hmm. Now, for our listeners, probably a lot of them are used to the classic SEO. Now, this is a very different approach. Can you tell me the difference between old school SEO and what you're doing?
I don't think there is a difference, to be honest. So I think, SEO is just evolving, right? Search engine optimization is evolving. The thing that's, evolving is the search piece of it. And as a result of that, the optimization is evolving. But, there's like a new acronym every 24 hours or so, and it's hard to keep up with them. But at the end of the day, it's just good search optimization. In fact, like Google published a thought piece, a couple of days back where they said like, hey, there's nothing special about AEO or GEO. It's just like good search optimization. You should build helpful content for consumers that gives them context on the products that you sell. And if you do that and you deliver it to us in a very structured and clean way, your chances of getting picked up in results increase. So if you give helpful, unique content and a unique perspective on a product for a consumer, that will bode well for you. So it's changing for sure, but it's not like this is a totally new thing. It's just search optimization. And so having structured data, giving helpful content, having unique perspective, and helping consumers, choose which products to buy, I think is most helpful.
Mm-hmm. I think that was always the credo of Google: helpful content, helpful results, and sort of they're circling back to that, where they're coming from. Now, with Optiversal, obviously helping brands getting better. Can you give some examples, and you don't need to tell the brand, on how it helped your clients and what kind of results they saw?
So we work with a wide variety of clients, mostly in the sort of the enterprise space. We do two things for them. So we help them with optimizing their product content, and then we also help them build landing pages that answer consumers' questions. So or are very specified to a use case. A good example of that is like, what are pans that chefs use? Is a landing page we have for a home goods retailer that does very well. So we've created a landing page with pans that chefs use. And AI came up with the keyword, and AI came up with the landing page and built the landing page. And now, that retailer gets a bunch of traffic from that page. And so, and similarly, we can then take the chef's data and put it into the product catalog, and that works too. And so in the case of that retailer, I believe their sort of their advertising performance is up somewhere around 12%. So they get a 12% increase in conversions for the same ad spend. And we drive our, AI landing pages drive approximately 16% of their site traffic. And so that is pretty substantial because it's all kind of incremental.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's really substantial. Now, you mentioned that you're using AI to create landing pages. What kind of homework needs a merchant or a brand to do before they come to you? Because obviously you need to have something that you can build on. How does that work?
Very little homework, actually. It's a full circle system. So the way that we structure it is we do keyword research automatically based on the product catalog. So we look at the product catalog and we basically ask the questions, what are all the ways that consumers could search for this product? And then we go to the search engines and we validate whether that's a way that consumers actually search for the product, right? So we validate, hey, do people on a monthly basis search this way for this set of products? And if there's validation and the retailer or the brand does not show up in the search results, that means that it's an opportunity to create a landing page. And so then the system creates a landing page, and then we'll see if it performs. And if it performs, we'll keep it around. And if it doesn't perform, we'll toss it out. But what happens is like a full loop of keyword research, validation that there's volume, page creation, and then performance analytics and optimization. And so it goes around and around. And because we use AI, we can build thousands of these. I think we're coming up to 1 million landing pages, so which is totally awesome. And so you can create a lot. Not all of them are going to work, but that's totally awesome too. So you get rid of the ones that don't work and you double down on the ones that do work.
Mm-hmm. Now, for our listeners that are probably just getting started with this, how can they check if Google understands their product right now or understands it correctly? Are there ways to check that?
For sure. You can call me or us, and we can help you with an audit of that. But there's other signals, right? So one of the things to look at is you can log into your Google Search Console, and you can, for example, look at the overall search at your overall search trends. And if Google's not really understanding you in the age of AI search, what you'll see is that your impressions are actually up. Because people are searching more. But what you'll probably see is your click rates going down year on year. And so if that's the case, there's probably a swath of keywords that you used to be found for, but that have now turned into different keywords that you're no longer found for. And there's an opportunity for you to get after it. The other signal is if you log into your Google Ads account and you see your cost per click go up, that means that you're bidding on a narrow set of keywords where there's high competition, and keyword volumes in general are exploding, right? So Google had the most queries ever last quarter in the history of the company, most keywords ever in a non-holiday quarter. And so if your cost per click is up, that means that there's a whole world of keywords out there that you're not going after. So those are two signals. If you look at those two signals and you see that your cost per click is going up and your organic clicks are going down, it means like probably you're not being found as much as you used to, and it's probably because of your optimization strategy.
Yeah, I think it's a very timely matter because I mean the smart businesses, they are starting to optimize or have started optimizing for that quite some time ago. And if you're not on that bandwagon, you definitely will feel it in your business. Now, what's the typical onboarding process? What steps are involved?
Yeah, if you work with us, like on the feed side or the product data side, the onboarding is typically a week or two, so it can be really quick. Because we can take your existing feeds, do the audits, find the gaps, optimizing them. And then once you're going, we will continue to optimize, so to speak. If we're building landing pages for you, that's a slightly more involved process. And typically we have that up and running in like 4 to 6 weeks or so. And then with everything search engine related, it takes time, right? So there's no magic bullets. So it takes time, but it is compounding. So you won't see results like the day after you turn it on. In most cases, right? It takes some time to build up the results because the engines now need to pick you up, and people now need to be able to find you, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's a compounding asset. So we currently are working very hard with our clients on like holiday season, which is crazy. But that's like what we're starting to prepare for. Like, how are we going to show up for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Christmas shopping?
Okay. Now, you already gave some examples of customers using your system. You said it's bigger companies, but who's your perfect customer? What kind of verticals, industries do you work most with?
Verticals doesn't really matter. We have successful businesses and successful clients in almost all verticals. So we're vertical agnostic. It applies for most verticals. You will see the most benefit if you have at least 250 SKUs, because variety matters, right? If you have 5 SKUs, you can just use ChatGPT to optimize your product data. You can just take your Google catalog, put it into ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude and say, optimize this data, make sure it's all filled out, make sure it's optimized for natural language search, and it will do a great job. The trick is like when the data sets gets bigger to do it well. So at least 250 products and at least $50 million in gross merchandising value. So you need to have revenues of at least 50 million bucks. But if you have those two things, more than 250 products and a decent amount of sales, then we're a great partner for you.
Okay. How does your pricing structure work? How do you charge for your services?
The pricing generally works that it's a great ROI. So we price based on SKU volumes. We have lower tiers and higher tiers.
Okay, no, makes sense. I think there's a lot to learn in getting it right with product data right now. I think it's a race, and I think the one who is the fastest will win the race. And so that's definitely interesting times that's on there. Lucas, before our coffee break comes to an end today, is there anything you want to share with our listeners that we haven't covered yet?
I don't think so. Don't sleep on it. Search engines are changing very rapidly. Yesterday was Google I/O, or I don't know when this will be broadcast, but when we're recording it, yesterday was Google I/O, and they announced like a whole slew of new features. AI is getting deeply embedded into the search experience on Google, where there's like a billion shopping queries per day. ChatGPT is still, growing in terms of volume, also on the shopping side, and so there's like a lot more people are searching for, or not even a lot more people are searching very differently today than they used to be. And if you do not have the right structured data, the chances of you going to be found are like just very low, because you're asking the models to do too many gymnastics. And if your competitor just delivers very clean, helpful data, they're going to win. So Don't sleep on it. Don't wait for it. Holidays coming up, so you want to get ready, pretty early to reap all the benefits.
Yeah, that's a perfect summary of what's happening right now in the market. Where can people go and find out more about you?
Optiversal.com.
Cool. Very straightforward. I will put a link in the show notes and you just one click away. Lucas, thanks so much for giving an overview of what's happening in the search market. I think it's amazing times what's happening there. I'm in this business for a very, very long time, and there's also always something new. But I think right now the changes are faster than they were ever before. So for our listeners, check it out. Get in touch with Lucas and get your product data right. Thanks so much, Lucas.
Thank you much.